history plays such an important part, I think, in how we approach various works. And today I'm looking at Pan from the 4 pieces Joueurs de Flûte by Albert Roussel. Now, until I started looking at these pieces, I really had very little idea about the life of Roussel. But the more I looked into his life, basically, the more I discovered how what he had done in the early part of his life was heavily influencing his music. Sadly, he was orphaned when he was only 8 years old, and then his relatives every summer would take him to the beaches in Belgium. And from this, an absolute fascination with the sea developed with him, to the extent that at a very young age he joined the French Navy and went off right the way around the world. And this is where the exotic influences in his music come from. It was only after he left the Navy that he decided that he actually wanted to embark upon a career in music. And he was initially heavily influenced by composers such as Debussy and Ravel. But of course, for him, those were people that were in the past, and he was equally fascinated with composers like Stravinsky. If you add into the mix all his previous travels and his journeys to exotic places, you've suddenly got an intoxicating brew of character that comes shining through in his compositions, and not least in Pan, Joueurs de Flûte. Flute players might also be interested to know that Roussel's composition teacher was Henri Dutilleux's grandfather. So again, you can see threads of connection that draw music, that draw personality and styles of music all together. There are 4 pieces in Joueurs de Flûte, and the one we're going to focus on today is Pan. And this in turn was dedicated to Marcel Moyse, the famous French flute player. So who was Pan? Well, we know him from Greek mythology, and we know that there are things called Pan pipes. And already in the first bar, Roussel writes this. Well, of course, there is Pan playing his panpipes. And right the way through this piece, you see and experience the different characteristics of Pan. So how can we describe Pan? Well, he was lethargic, he was definitely mischievous, and he was incredibly amorous as well. And all of those characteristics are present in this beautiful little postcard of a piece of personality by Roussel. So at the beginning we have the panpipe character, and then a few lines into the piece we suddenly get this. And I think therein lies the creature's passion. He's suddenly gone from this rather dreary opening to something that's very lively. And then later on we suddenly see the mischief in him with this motif. And there we have a very mischievous Pan. You can almost see his horns sticking out of the top of his head. And then we have the sort of, it's too hot, I'm feeling tired, oh, it's all a bit too much for me. And this is the motif here. Very lazy. And then finally, at the end, he goes back to playing his panpipes.